to another Touchpoints Insight session on the UK banking app market, and this particular one and around the challenger banks. And although it may be a jubilee month, some celebrations for some and commiserations for others. And Chase and Revolut, it seems it's a case of divergence.
It is indeed. And this is really interesting because what appears to be happening is that, and we're looking at frequency here. So we're looking at the number of reviews that each of the banks is getting every month. And the green line is Chase and the orange line is Revolut. And they're just going in opposite directions. So Revolut has plummeted from around 3,300 reviews a month to, hardly any, 188 in May. And Chase is going in the opposite direction from, pretty much ground zero to a really healthy 1,500 reviews a month in May. So, and that is actually the most frequently reviewed of all the challenger apps. It's more than Starling. So, I mean, I think it would be going too far to say that, Chase are already stealing some of Revolut's lunch. But it is very interesting the way this trend is emerging. So if we look at what we normally look at this point, which is app ratings, so the absolute engaged customer score, with all the people that give a rating but don't give a review stripped out, we can see also that Chase, the green line here, is actually getting very close to Starling, who is the market leader. So this is a pretty healthy story for Chase all round, both in terms of, the share of voice that they are gaining in terms of app reviews, but also in terms of, the quality of customer experience that those reviewers are reporting. So I thought we'd do something a bit different and look at what, if I were, in charge of Chase's app, what can I do just to tip the balance a bit further and actually take the lead from Starling in terms of the challenger bank's market leadership? Let's just look at drilling down a little bit further underneath these top line ratings. So one of the things we like to look at are these 4 levels: high levels of customer experience, foundational attributes, core customer journeys, incremental banking features, and customer love. And just eyeballing this, I think you can see that of all of these, the one where Chase has most ground to make up on Starling is this one, level 2, core customer journeys, where they're about 80 basis points behind in terms of the overall app review scores. So I think that's where we should drill down and just have a look at, is there an opportunity in core customer journeys for Chase to really move the needle in relation to Starling? So here are the underlying concepts: so mobile app update, app account balance feature, app authentication, deposit check via app for core customer journeys. And again, it's quite interesting. You can see that Chase is kind of most behind on deposit check, but maybe that's not a particularly important category for challenger banks. You can see that the app volumes review, the volumes are really low. So probably the area to make up is authentication or account balance feature or mobile app update. Now, to decide that, we probably need to know a bit more about what are the relative volumes of each of these. What are the most important ones to the customer? So this is a useful view that shows you the relative proportion of reviews that are about each app journey. So it's useful because it ranks them. And this is clearly showing that of all the reviews about app journeys, then most reviews mention this app authentication journey, and the next most popular subject for app journey reviews is mobile app update. So that, in a way, narrows it down to the top 2 journeys where arguably Chase should focus if they are trying to kind of optimize the allocation of their roadmap development resources to a particular journey. The one thing that this view doesn't do is tell you whether the reviews are positive or negative. And it's helpful to know that because obviously you want to focus on the journeys where there's most negative experience in terms of the headroom for improvement. So this actually does that. It's a pretty useful view that effectively shows you where the real pain points are in relation to each particular journey. And clearly here, app authentication is the journey which Chase is actually demonstrating the most pain, but Chase customers are actually complaining about in terms of issues to do with their customer experience. So the one thing that we should probably also check is that authentication does represent a significant gap to the market leader, Starling, who they're trying to close on. And we can do that by looking at the relative ratings. And this clearly shows in terms of the ranking that there is a big gap between Starling, who are number 1 in authentication, and Chase, who are number 4. But you can see there's a 1.3 ratings point difference between them. So this does show that in terms of negative ground to be made up, that if Chase did improve the authentication journey, they would have a lot of incremental gain to develop in relation to the top line rating. And we can just to look at another one, just for the sake of argument, we can look at mobile app updates. They're rated 5, but their gap to Starling is nothing like as great. So that's a further indication that app authentication should be the journey that they should focus on. And then if they wanted to take this a stage further and say, well, what is it about our app authentication experience that needs to be improved? We can look at the verbatim. So these are the verbatims that are coming into the app stores around Chase's authentication experience. And you can see that there seem to be issues about signing in, about authentication, about passcodes, and something about logins. So that this is clearly an area of their customer experience that they have the opportunity to improve, and to improve upon that minus 1.7 net opinion they're currently experiencing. And we can contrast that with Starling's authentication experience, which seems to be a lot more kind of smoothly implemented. And generally speaking, customers are pretty satisfied with how they do that, and are kind of being positive. So I think this is a good demonstration, really, of for a particular challenger bank, if you really do want to move the needle on your overall app store engaged customer rating, where should you focus in order to find the pain point that is the one where you have most opportunity to improve, and also where you can close the gap on a particular competitor, in this case, the market leader.